So, you want to build a town for your D&D campaign. The urge of building completely new settlements that came from playing your favorite city building game has finally made you want to create an awesome town. Either that, or you just want to improve the settlements of the D&D campaign that you're running in general. Whatever the case is, welcome to Dungeon Hussars, where today we'll show you how to create epic ttrpg cities and towns while not spending an insane amount of time doing so. But first, did you know that only 3% of you actually subscribe to this channel? So why not join the elite of Dungeon Hussars subscribers and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and comment down below. And for now, back to the video. Let's think about what benefits a town can bring with it. Mainly, it will be the reduction of many costs that would naturally occur when the population is decentralized, like traveling for far distances. Having a city or a town would also provide a larger local market for the population, while simultaneously making the exchange of ideas between individuals much easier. Sometimes the city's population will even have such luxurious things like running water. Although it is very important to acknowledge the benefits of having a town, the first thing that we'll actually have to establish is the time when our campaign takes place and how old our newly designed city is. Obviously, a young city in an industrial setting and an ancient city in a medieval one will be largely different from one another. So, when you're creating a town, remember that each period has its own characteristics of what a town is and how does it function. If you play in a campaign inspired by the ancient Greece period, your city will probably be largely autonomous with a clear city center where all of the most important buildings are placed. In a medieval campaign, the city center will be determined by the main marketplace's location, where you'll have all of the traders coming to the town in order to exchange goods and stories. It is also necessary to note that usually a medieval town would have far less grandeur than an ancient one. In such a setting, people from a city would also enjoy more personal freedom than those in the rural areas. There was even a German saying that the city's air makes you free, as a reference to the city's population not having the feudal obligations to their lord, which was a significant change to the peasants inhabiting the farmlands. Although you need to consider that, regardless what your ruling regime is of the city, most likely the city's government would have to find its way somewhere in the feudal ladder. On the other side, industrial towns will be for the most part built in order to provide place for factories and housing for the workers, with the worker accommodation built to house as many people in as small of a space as is possible. Those cities will often also have some kind of specific separate residential areas for the wealthy factory owners. For example, Łódź in Poland is a typical example of an industrial city. And up until the Second Industrial Revolution, it was an insignificant and small settlement. However, later when the textile manufacturers came there, it became one of the most densely populated industrial cities in the world before the First World War. But I digress. The medieval fantasy setting is still the most popular in the D&D community, so I'll stick with it. So now the question becomes how to create a good fantasy or D&D or any other TTRPG town. We'll first need to establish why our city lies in a specific place, because it is crucial to acknowledge that cities lay in certain places not because some random group of people met, looked at the map and picked the random location, after which they said, "Here be a new town." No! Towns have a specific goal, usually determined by the people who establish a town as well as geographic features around it. If a location is known for being a place where a lot of trade routes meet, it is perfectly possible that some clever person, lured by the amount of traffic in said place, will start a tavern for the caravans to rest and maybe resupply. Later, maybe some more people would become interested in trading their goods there, and we have a foundation of a typical trade-focused town, which will probably be one of the most common types of a town you can get. Other types involve, for example, mining settlements or defensive fortifications. In this video, I will assume that the town I'll be creating is located by the riverside, where we have the only bridge in the region, so all of the traders are headed there to cross the river. Now, this would be a nice place for people to set up their businesses and living spaces, because we have a natural barrier. A river lying on a trade routes, and merchants traveling in this part of the world, even if they wouldn't normally want to stop there, they'll still have to cross the river somehow. After some time, and when the town was already established, the citizens came to a certain realization that they could just tell the travelers that if they want to cross the river, they have to pay and stay in the city for a full day. So, we have found our town location, which is by an isolated river bridge, and our city's purpose, which is to host merchants from far away. Naturally, the vast majority of merchants passing through the region would be extremely unsatisfied with the city's action, so they'd try any other way of passing through the river, whether it is with improvised bridges or local ferries. This hit the city's ruling class, so they have decided to hire mercenaries and send them together with the city watch to patrol and destroy all of the river crossings located outside of the town. After a few years, our town became a flourishing city and the only crossing in this river within a 100-mile radius, thus securing a monopoly over land routes all between the two sides of a river in this region. This situation has forced the merchants to either take the maritime journey or pass through the river crossing, paying ridiculous amount of money to get through the bridge. Now we found an optimal location for our city, and we had established what was the cause that made the city into being, which was having the only bridge across the river in the region. The goals of the city are monopolizing the river trades, and the conflicts of the city would all revolve over the passage. Whether it would be the local oligarchs competing with one another over their influences, or the merchants and non-urban population of the region trying to find other ways to cross the river. If you really want to, those conflicts can even be geopolitical in nature, where different kings and dukes would try to subjugate the cities and its region as their vassal. Or, if you'd prefer, or if this would fit your campaign's theme better, you could also make that the region suddenly became full of monsters, bandits, or any other threat which significantly reduced the amount of merchants traveling through this part of the world, and suddenly a prosperous and a wealthy city now has to find itself a way to navigate through this emergency. How they would react to such a situation is totally up to you as a DM, and so are the causes of those problems, because a town is a perfect place for your players to take quests in. And I would suggest that you should, for example, be connecting some of the city's quests to the main city's conflicts, and their conflicts of a city to the main story. For our river crossing city, the examples might look like the ruling class of the city hired the players as mercenaries to try protecting the merchant caravans from the monsters. Maybe the players were tasked to investigate the causes of the crisis. Maybe even they tasked the players to negotiate with local kings so they would help eliminate the monsters with their armies. After establishing the main conflicts, locations and the city's goal, we have the basic knowledge about our city. Now we can flesh out the key details of our settlement, including the most important buildings and the stereotypical citizens of our city. Let's start with creating an architectural style for the city, which will usually be determined by the technological advancement of your world, as well as the city location and its overall wealth. So naturally, a settlement located near a desert oasis would be typically built with local materials like sandstone. And for this city I was imagining as kind of a Dutch port city, because of the river location. So I'll go with an architectural style that resembles the cities of Amsterdam or Rotterdam. When I think about the city's main building, I think of the town hall located next to the city's market with a large clock tower to accurately measure a day in which the merchants have to stay in the city. A large drawbridge with guards standing next to it, and a central luxurious tavern where all of the wealthy merchants stay overnight. You could add a couple more of the buildings, but don't overextend and just create the key buildings of your town while creating an architectural theme present throughout all of the town. Now, the stereotypical citizen will help us with creating the townsfolk NPCs and descriptions of the citizens' action. Stereotypical citizens would probably be closely related to the internal affairs of a town. For this city, we can assume that the average citizen is fairly rich because the presence of all the merchants traveling from far away would severely impact the city's economy. And also they're probably a local nationalist who hopes to see all trade routes lead to their city, which is because, well, the city profits from merchants staying there, and that's how to create quickly a nice D&D town. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful for your future town creations. Leave a like, comment and subscribe if you did, and for now, goodbye.